All right, welcome to the Explainer. I am so pumped to guide you through this today. We are looking at a completely strategic, totally no-fluff playbook for absolutely conquering the 2027 VCE. Consider me your coach for the next few minutes. We're taking the utter chaos of year 12, the endless syllabus points, the late-night stress, and we're distilling it all down into a crystal-clear, actionable roadmap. So get ready, because we're stripping away the noise and focusing purely on what actually moves the needle for your final results.
Okay, let's dive into this. Consider this core motif. VCE is not about being the smartest student in the room. It is about being the most consistent one. Seriously, this is the absolute foundation of everything we're going to cover today. Winning the VCE game isn't about raw intellect, and it definitely isn't about burning the midnight oil right before a sack. The cohort that actually wins is the cohort that turns up on a normal Tuesday in May and just does the invisible work. It's all about systems. It's about consistency. So, here is our game plan to bring some structure to the chaos of Year 12. 1. The rules of the game. 2. Habits that actually work. 3. Humanities strategy. 4. STEM strategy. And 5. The exam playbook. This roadmap is going to completely eliminate that background anxiety.
Level 1. The rules of the game. Because, hey, to win any game, you first have to understand exactly how the points are tallied, right?
Now, what's really interesting here is how demystifying the ATAR calculation actually is. It's a strict formula, definitely not magic. You've got your compulsory English subject, your next top 3 subjects, and then an optional 5th or 6th subject that only count for 10% of their scaled score. The major takeaway here? You literally don't need a perfect 45 in every single subject to get an incredible aggregate. You just need a strong English score and a balanced portfolio across the board.
Okay, time to bust the absolute biggest VCE myth right now. Scaling. Let's look at the facts versus the fiction. Scaling is simply the system's way of comparing apples to oranges. It just adjusts for fairness. If a subject has an incredibly strong cohort, like, say, specialist maths, it might scale up. But listen to me carefully. Never, ever pick a subject just because it scales up. Taking a class you absolutely hate purely for the scaling is a super fast track to burnout. You will always perform best in subjects you're genuinely motivated to learn.
Moving right along to Level 2, habits that actually work. We're shifting from the macro view down to the micro level, the daily systems that actually secure those marks.
Look at the stark difference in cognitive load between passive and active study. Rereading a textbook chapter and highlighting it in 3 different neon colors feels like studying, but honestly, it's totally passive. It has an incredibly low return on investment. Active study, on the flip side, is doing practice questions completely without notes, or using Anki flashcards. Why? Because your brain actually has to produce something to learn. If you aren't producing something you can grade, you aren't really studying. And this brings us right to the cognitive science of learning. Ever heard of the forgetting curve? Basically, your brain will dump about 70% of new material within 24 hours unless you revisit it. Just poof, gone. The scientific fix is spaced repetition. You review material at expanding intervals, day 1, day 3, day 7, and so on. Apps like Anki automate this exact timing for you, locking those definitions and formulas straight into your long-term memory.
So the crucial point is this brilliantly simple tactic right here, the 2-line rule. After every 20 minutes of input, whether that's reading a chapter or watching a video, close the source and write 2 lines summarizing what you just learned completely from memory. If you can't write those 2 lines, well, you didn't actually learn it. You just watched it happen. This absolutely forces immediate recall.
Now, to actually pull off active study, you need elite focus. You can use the Pomodoro technique to break through that initial procrastination, or 90-minute deep work blocks to smash through past papers. And please, don't negotiate on 8 hours of sleep. Pulling an all-nighter is literally the worst trade in VCE, because sleep is when your memory physically consolidates. But notice that last point. Your phone is basically a digital slot machine designed to steal your focus. Placing it entirely out of arm's reach, in a completely different room, is hands down the single most underrated study upgrade you can make this year.
All right, Level 3, Humanities and English Strategy. Let's tackle the one subject every single ATAR absolutely depends on, English, along with the wider humanities strategies.
And this brilliantly illustrates how top-band students approach English. It isn't just one vague skill, it's three distinct rooms. In reading, they don't just dump massive paragraphs of text, they embed short, sharp, five-word quotes mid-sentence. In crafting original texts, they are deliberately borrowing specific techniques from mentor texts. And in argument analysis, they aren't just rattling off a list of persuasive techniques, they're actively tracking the author's persuasive arc and explicitly stating the effect on the reader.
This incredibly structured approach applies beautifully to other humanities subjects too, like health and human development, or HHD. Top students treat HHD like a science. Look at step 1. Circle the exact command word. Are you being asked to evaluate or to outline? Because those require totally different paragraph structures. And step 3. Always explicitly quote the data from the chart provided as your evidence. Generic answers just don't get marks.
Let's move to and see how this builds into level 4, maths and science strategy, where careful arithmetic, strict rule following, and specialized techniques reign supreme.
If you're taking mathematical methods, you essentially have to train two completely different muscles. Exam 1 is tech-free. It tests mental arithmetic, exact values, and algebraic manipulation under intense time pressure. Exam 2, however, is tech-active. That is all about your mastery of your CAS calculator and complex modeling. You simply cannot study for these the same way. You really have to train these two muscles separately, week in and week out.
From math subjects, your bound reference is basically your biggest grade builder, but only if you build it right. Notice the heavy deadweight warning here. Do not bring in photocopied textbook theory that you are literally never going to read. Bring in worked examples, tricky algebraic maneuvers, and specific CAS calculator commands. And most importantly, use it in every single SAC during the year. If your bound reference is a pristine, beautifully unannotated museum piece by October, it is completely useless to you. Over in the sciences, like biology, we have a totally different meta strategy. Biology is incredibly content-rich. Your best shortcut here is that diagram equals answer. There are about 12 core diagrams in the course, things like the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane or ATP synthase in respiration. If you can draw and meticulously label a blank diagram, that alone can earn you 4 to 6 marks on an extended response question. Master the visuals, and you'll master the content. Which brings us to level 5, the exam day playbook. We've built the foundation, and now I want to bring this explainer home by zooming back out to prepare you for the ultimate boss fight, the end-of-year exams.
Here is your timeline for the whole year. Phase 1 is all about building habits and locking in content as it lands. Phase 2, in winter, is about stress testing to find your weak spots, but look closely at Phase 3 starting in September. By October, you should be in pure maintenance and polish mode. You absolutely should not be learning genuinely new material right before the exams. You want to refine what you already know so you walk into that exam hall feeling calm, not crammed.
During that polish phase, you're going to be doing practice exams. But here's the absolute secret. An unmarked practice exam is literally just 3 hours wasted. The magic happens in steps 2, 3, and 4. You must mark it strictly against the real assessor criteria. You have to write down the lessons you learned. And crucially, step 4, you must redo your weakest paragraph or question entirely from scratch. That specific act of rebuilding what broke, that's where your grade actually improves.
I want to leave you with this final vital thought. VCE is hard and it's definitely going to push you. But remember this, your ATAR is just a number representing one specific moment in time. You are not your ATAR. The true value of this year isn't the score you get at the end. It's the resilience, the systems, and the character you build by showing up every single day to do the work when nobody is watching. Who are you going to become through this process? Because that is what truly matters. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Now go out there and execute the playbook.